Hey, what's going on, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you in another video. All right, so I'm sitting in the dark, figured I'd do a therapy session. I'm not really feeling nothing special, to be honest with you. I'm enjoying my night. It's cooled off a great deal since the last therapy session, because obviously we were going through a heat wave. But I'm just looking at all the things that are going on in the internet world. And one thing that I just came across was a gentleman on Instagram, and I didn't take his name down or information. I'm not a journalist, so forgive me for not being someone in detail like that. I've never been that way, and I'm probably not going to start being that way until I'm professional. So, but nevertheless, came across something where it was a gentleman who was essentially responding to Fat Joe's point of view on the robbers who took the life of, or the robber who took the life of P&B Rock, rest in peace. He was essentially saying that he didn't agree with Fat Joe's stance. Now, Fat Joe essentially was saying, I don't have a problem with the robbers robbing P&B. Just didn't understand why he had to kill him. He used to be a robber himself, so he understands the mentality. And the man who was retorting was essentially saying, we gotta take strong stances against that. He didn't agree with Fat Joe. We gotta take strong stances against that mentality in our communities in order to combat it. We can't co-sign that behavior. I totally agree with him, but here's something that I come from, and this is why it's important for me to turn on the camera, because I understand for a fact that when you are trying to reach people who are doing things like that, it can't be coming from a voice or a mouth of reason like this. A person like this can talk to someone like myself. A person like this can talk to all the squares. You can talk to everybody who is living a certain way, who can receive a certain type of positivity, a certain type of energy, a certain type of, their world fits that energy. And those who are out there, those who Fat Joe is trying to reach, they're not going to listen to him. They don't and see, this is, the older I get, the more I understand that what's right for me is just simply that. It's right for me. Now, when I find myself in a situation where I'm wearing a different hat with different needs and different things I'm guarding against, suddenly there are different truths, different things that's right for me. I'm on a different side of the room, so I got to sit a different way. Do you understand what I'm saying? And a lot of times when we are on our side of the room and we feel we're right and we believe we're right and what's right for us is right for our community, we don't often understand the need for understanding somebody else's side of the room. And because of it, we end up in conflict rather than in a position to agree. Because we don't understand other people's positions and we don't understand the language from which they need to be spoken to. Fat Joe needs to be able to speak to the robbers, because they ain't about to listen to me and they ain't going to listen to that dude. Because we ain't in their side of the street. We don't know what they're going through. We've never been in their side of the room. We can't position ourselves in such a way to make it make sense from ours. And when you start to understand perspective and you start to go through different things and wear different hats in life, the more you put on, the more you realize is what I went through 3 years ago when I was doing this definitely doesn't work right now. And what I was doing 10 years ago when I was doing something else definitely didn't work 3 years ago. These are things that have helped me understand. You ever heard of when you're in Rome, do as Romans do? That kind of thing. With survival tactics, what is required to survive. These type of things people don't understand on different levels. And they think because they're in a safe world, they believe that everybody who's not in a safe world needs to be behaving the same way they do. No. This is the problem with a lot of conversations that we have, because everybody's so stuck on their side of the street that they don't know nor care about what works for everybody else. They don't care. That's the problem. Do you understand why someone may have robbed P&B? They didn't have nothing. That's the first thing we need to understand. Do you have nothing? No, you're going home, or you're not. You get in your car, you got a job, right? You got education, all these different things, whatever your that walk of life is, understand that somebody else's, they ain't got all that. Not only do they may not have all that, but they don't have what's in your head. All that wisdom that was given to you by the loved ones that you have, they didn't have none of that. You got to be able to fathom a world where the norms that you have do not exist and are replaced by the opposite of those. And that mind over there, it can change just like yours. But it ain't going to change if you don't look to empathize or understand their side of the room, or look to understand that your language ain't gonna reach them. My slang ain't gonna reach them. Now I could try. It may be a choice few who will listen to me and then interpret what they've heard from me back to whom they are with. But at the end of the day, if we don't speak the same language, if we don't have the same norms, if we don't guard against the same things, if we're on opposite ends, and we're not looking to empathize, then we're going to be at war by default without ever understanding that it was never necessary. It was never necessary. A little understanding, a little bit of, oh, so that's how it works on your side of the room. Well, if I had to deal with what you dealt with, then maybe I'd have to do what you do too. Maybe if I knew what you knew, maybe I would be thinking like you. And because you weren't raised with me, our norms ain't the same. What you're guarding against, though, nah. I was raised in a household where love was prevalent. You were raised in a household where cold kept you safe. We can't vibe, but we can respect the fact that we can't vibe instead of going to war with each other because of it. You see what I'm saying? I want Fat Joe to speak the way that he's speaking to whom he's speaking to because he needs to be able to. Somebody does. They ain't listen to you. You the dude they rob. You the dude they shoot. They ain't listen to you. They gotta listen to somebody who's in their walk of life, who's been where they've been, who's thought the thoughts that they thought, who's gotten out of those places, who went through the hell that they're about to face because of the things that they doing. You don't know nothing about that. I was listening to Joe Budden speak something about that in regards to understanding one's position and what you've gone through and the differences between being tough, feeling tough, and actually putting in the work to become what it is that tough actually is. You know, I was listening to him sitting down. Just only watch a snippet of it. I gotta watch the rest of it. But he was sitting down with the man who shot Bin Laden. And Homeboy was sitting down explaining to him exactly what SEALs training is and how thorough you have to be of a mind just to get through the first phase of it. And you understand that being tough is not a mindset. It's actually putting in the work with that mindset. Enduring exactly what it takes in the hours approaching so that you can reflect the toughness that you actually think you are. It comes with work. It comes with sitting in some grueling situations, overcoming some things, going up the mountain or whatever the heck it is. You got to do something. You ain't just walking out your house off your couch being tough. A lot of times we walk around with bravado and confidence, thinking that's going to keep us safe. PNB Rock's life taught us that is not real. You can't walk around that way. You got to actually you are flesh and blood. You are flesh and blood, and because of it, you have to guard against certain things, and that's the approach I'm bringing to the situation. We talk so flippant with our mouths about other people's perspectives and what we will allow another person to do, what we gonna cancel another person. We don't even look to think about what side of the room they're on and why they may be thinking the way they are. Let me tell you who I've been critical of. People who worship celebrities. I know, ironic, right? Since I talk about celebrities every day, but I'm finding myself in the past very critical of people who worship celebrities because I didn't understand why they would put so much of an emphasis into characters. When growing up in Los Angeles, I've been around a lot of celebrities. I know a lot of them are characters. A lot of them are different than what they actually appear, all that stuff. But when you see people who don't have that mentality, a lot of times they just over-absorb themselves with celebrities, et cetera, and it becomes like their God. And for me, that was like a repellent, right? Until I start putting myself in position to understand why a person would even do that. Why I start listening to people talk about how certain celebrities change their lives and how they feel when they listen to their music and how they were able to take the hours that they were in pain and kind of supplement those hours by listening to their music or being with their art or what have you. And then I understood that they were just holding on to them. That's the only thing these people are holding on to. That's why they worship these celebrities, because they didn't have nothing else. So how could I be critical of that? Now, I don't understand it because I got everything else I got. I got this, that, interest, all kinds of different thoughts in my head to keep me occupied. But if I didn't have nothing else to keep my pain away with that one celebrity, that one Doja Cat or whomever it is, the NBA young boy, whoever it is, then I would understand. These people, a lot of times, they just hold on to one thing. One thing that's keeping them from going off the rails. And it's that one song that they listen to 100 times in a row by that one artist. I can't relate to that. I'm not in that side of the room. I listen to a million songs every day, and I think everybody else should too, but that's not the reality of other people's circumstances. And if I think everybody's like me, and if I think my position is the only thing that works, I'm gonna be so confused in this world and so caught off guard by every damn thing. You understand what I'm saying? It just becomes a situation where it's like, yes, you can understand yourself, but I always say it ain't enough to just understand yourself. You gotta understand where you at. I can know where I'm myself all I want. I can know me, all my attributes and everything. But if I don't know how the operations of the place work, if I don't know what I need to protect against, if I don't know what I need to be involved in while being there, if I don't understand the things that make that place work, then I can understand me all I want. I'm gonna get swallowed up by the place. And my understanding and all of my identity will be stuck in a bad situation in that place for which I do not understand. You see it time and time again. People understand themselves and think they understand the world. There's two different understandings and one has to find them both. So these are the type of things that go through my mind, man. The older I get, the more I realize this. Spend all this time getting to know the environment, not themselves. Getting to know themselves, not the environment. Not getting to know either. Just running around and with ambition and urges. And they get nowhere. Being critical of others in the process. Trying to influence others in the process. Getting nowhere. You know, I talk about these type of things, how people allow themselves to be viewed. I'm thinking about another situation. This Sweetie Pie dude. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sweetie Pies. It was a show on OWN about 6-7 years ago. This dude, I'd never heard of this guy. Big Tim, whatever. I don't know, man. Disgraced individual. He killed his own nephew. A bunch of nonsense took place. But the majority of the situation and the moral of the story was this dude just essentially decided he was going to offer his own nephew to get $450,000 in insurance money. And see, my thing is this. You weren't actually trying to do that, Tim. What you were doing was trying to disgrace yourself to the maximum degree. It's all he actually was trying to accomplish, because what he was doing was so damn sloppy that he was obviously going to get caught. The people who he hired to do that flipped on him before he even got arrested. It was like it's as if you place an obstacle in front of yourself to step into, you know? It's like you didn't actually try to accomplish that. No, you weren't trying to get away with that. You wanted to be caught for that. And I bet you he was none the wiser. Dude made a phone call 3 days after he did that, talking about, please let me cash out. You think you ain't gonna see that you've done that? They're not gonna see that you tried to cash out on the insurance policy 3 days after the murder? You think they ain't gonna tie that together? I mean, it's just like the type of stuff that goes on in this world, and the type of mentality that people have, and the gall and the confusion that people walk around with about their own intentions. I believe that man believed that he was doing that for the money, but I know that he did that because he hated himself. I know that. That's all that ever comes down to. When people allow themselves to be seen in certain ways that only garner hate, that's all they're trying to do, is make it so that they punish themselves with that reputation that they're creating for themselves. I don't care what type of evil they do. If they dig deep enough in their soul, they're going to find some self-loathing that causes that type of nonsense. And a lot of people don't even know to dig deep. They don't even know that there's a deep to dig. Like I said, they just run around with their urges, their feelings, and what they believe the world is, and themselves, and who they've figured themselves to be. Considering anybody else's perspectives, they don't even care, let alone look to find out why they should. It's like there's a lot of different things that are missing from people. It's like a trance we're all under, you know, as it pertains to why do things the right way, why do things the compassionate way, why be considerate of others, why be slow to anger, all these different things that we were told that help us. It's almost like we never gave them any thought. We dismissed them as corny and just kept it pushing, right? Wisdom is like nonsense. We just discard of it and then continue to see the loop of people make mistakes in being unwise over and over and over again. You got books, you got art, you got all different types of stuff that show us these mistakes, and yet we just continue to engage in the same energy that ultimately brings us the same fate over again. over again. And I feel like, honestly, I've reached a point where I'm just watching it. I see myself behaving in these ways, and I just wanted to stop it. You know, like at some point in time, I just realized that I needed to stop. While everybody else was moving, I needed to slow down and figure that out. And that's what this has been for the last year, is me realizing that I was engaging in the wrong energy, that I was out of control, that I was unhappy because of it, and I was confused. And a lot of it had to do with just not having ever done the due diligence to look inward, to heal certain things, to address certain things, to untangle certain things that just needed to be figured out. And a lot of times people don't ever look to do that. So they do things like Tim, for whatever their reason, whether it be just because he's sick or a combination of different things, whatever it is. At the end of the day, self-loathing is what drives a person to do such horrible things. Because you know for a fact you're going to be known for that, and you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to see that every time you do. And that's torturous. That's torturous for most minds. That is a torturous thing that they put themselves through in doing harm and evil things to others. None the wiser. You know, in a lot of beliefs, people may think it's a demonic energy, or my mom would say it's like Satan's using you and stuff. I try my very best to understand spirituality, but I have a long way to go. But what I can say is, if you allow it to get out of hand, it will affect others. The lack of compassion, the depression that comes from self-loathing, and all these different things that we allow ourselves to engage in, bad energy, letting yourself get out of control sexually, all these different things, they will ultimately harm other things that you're trying to not harm in the process. I've watched it happen so many times. People let their own vices and their own urges or what have you just get completely out of control, and it's just like a domino effect that destroys other things in their lives. And the suffering and the mistakes that come from the suffering, it doesn't have to go that way. It starts with conversations such as these, where we identify why compassion and context and various things, and looking outward, and it starts with these type of agreements within oneself. It don't start with the conflict. It don't start when you face somebody. It starts in the house before you even leave the house. In moments like these, you understand what I'm saying? And if you never get these moments, if you never get a chance to stop and think, you never get a chance to stop and breathe, the smell of roses and all that, then where will you ever find the need to do this? Where will you ever find the opportunity to grow? I'd imagine a lot don't, man, especially now in this era. A lot don't. But I think that's the purpose of what I'm here for, to speak the way that I do, so that we can help coach people into doing so, even from within a troubled mind like mine. Because at the end of the day, no matter what type of perspective you have, or what type of mindset or intelligence you have, at the end of the day, you're here to make your mark within the years that you're here, and you got to use what you have. That's what I've learned. And that's why I try to give what it is that I have, because this is something that we can take from here on out. One more person's perspective. That's why your voice is important, because someone could take just a piece from your perspective and then share it with somebody else later on if they're inclined to do so. So I hope to start that process here. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching my therapy session.